the major news that broke yesterday, and it's starting to look like Shedeur Sanders is going to get another shot here as the Browns starter. So Oregon quarterback Dante Moore went live on SportsCenter and announced that he will stay at Oregon another year, okay? He is projected to be a top 2 quarterback in this year's draft. All of a sudden, he's not there. And this quarterback class has a massive drop-off, and it's simply just not going to happen. So there are no other options at the quarterback position for the Browns. Free agent market is very weak. I showed you guys that as well. It's Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett, like guys that we've had before, guys we don't want, Marcus Mariota, Aaron Rodgers. And we saw positives from Shedeur. We are going to get to see some more about why I think this could be a positive thing for the Browns and for Shedeur next year. He'll actually get reps in a full offseason with Cleveland this year, all right? Training camp reps. Throwing to the guys that he'll be out there with on game day. You can't tell me that doesn't matter.
A Cleveland insider just dropped a bombshell. Shedeur Sanders is being actively prepared as the Browns' starting quarterback for 2026. This isn't just a rumor, it's the quiet reality that's been brewing behind the scenes, suddenly brought into the light. All the doubt, all the dismissive chatter, it's all sounding incredibly hollow right about now. This revelation changes everything, forcing a brutal reevaluation of previous narratives and the team's true intentions. It signals a complete shift in strategy, proving that Cleveland's leadership saw something others deliberately ignored. The implications for the team's future and the coaching staff are immense, and nobody can pretend this isn't a monumental pivot.
And honestly, I think this would be best case scenario. Let me break down why for you guys right here, right now. He's a 5th-round pick on a rookie deal. You've got nothing to lose. Okay, you don't have to go out and be a big spender in free agency. I mean, Malik Willis is probably the best option. And how good is he really? He was a backup this year. Not a lot of sample size for Malik Willis. We did see 7 starts from Shedeur Sanders, though, and more big plays. He's the best quarterback that we've seen on this roster this year. All right, and you want to talk about not really getting a fair shot, right? Why do we bring that up? Well, check out this photo, all right, of pressure percentage versus pressure to sack ratio. So the bottom line there, all right, your x-axis.
This seismic shift happened almost overnight, triggered by Oregon quarterback Dante Moore's unexpected decision to stay in college for another year. Moore, a projected top 2 draft pick, suddenly pulled himself out of the running, leaving a massive, undeniable void in the upcoming quarterback class. The once promising field now has an alarming drop-off in talent, stripping away any convenient safety nets for teams desperately seeking a franchise signal caller. This single choice by one player has fundamentally altered the entire NFL draft landscape, leaving a significant ripple effect that extends directly to Cleveland and its current roster. Without Moore, the options dwindled dramatically.
Shedeur's all the way on the right side. He's getting pressure in his face over 40% of the time. Way more than any other quarterback in this league. However, pressure to sack ratio, right? How many of those pressures become sacks? Well, he's towards the bottom half of the league, all right? A little in between 20 and 25%. So he's getting pressured constantly and more than anyone else, and those pressures are not turning into sacks. That's a credit to his ability to evade pressure, to make plays with his legs, to get out of the pocket. More mobility than people thought he would have. We saw it this year with his legs. And by the way, he was never prepared to be the starter. All right, Kevin Stefanski didn't pick him. His goal was Dylan Gabriel is the starter after Flacco, and then we run away with our quarterback, and that's Dylan Gabriel. It's a joke. You thought it would work out that way? It was never going to work out that way. And so all of a sudden, he's thrown into a game.
The free agent market, already notoriously weak, became even more anemic, offering no viable long-term solutions. We're talking about familiar, worn-out names: Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett, Marcus Mariota, Aaron Rodgers. These are guys Cleveland has either had before or whose stories are well known, often ending in disappointment and a hefty price tag. They represent a past of repeated failures, not a future of promise. Banking on any of them would be a desperate move, delaying the inevitable rather than solving the core problem. The team has lived those narratives before, paid the price, and learned nothing from repeating history.
The Browns they better draft and sign a load of offensive linemen, okay? You're going to draft hopefully one of the top prospects in the first round, and free agency, you better be aggressive. The whole O-line needs a revamping, okay? It's been awful. Then, we're getting a new head coach. Hopefully an offensive-minded head coach, one that could actually help unleash Shedeur. I think Stefanski was holding him back. Very conservative game plans. You know that. We watch the football games, all right? That's not who Shedeur Sanders is. He likes to make the big plays, and that's why some of them turned into blunders, some of them turned into 40, 50-yard completions. There's ups and downs, like I said, but there were ups. Finally, another thing Cleveland lacked that we should add this year, another stud wide receiver, all right? Jerry Jeudy is not that. So bring in a stud to help out the quarterback. You can't tell me that if all four of these things are addressed in the offseason, it won't look better. In fact, I guarantee you it'll look much better, but with a good offensive line. Every quarterback needs one in today's NFL.
Despite the noise and the rushed judgments, Shedeur Sanders had already shown glimpses of potential, demonstrating positives that many chose to overlook. The critical difference now, he's finally set to receive a full offseason with Cleveland, something he was denied before. Imagine actual training camp reps, throwing to the guys he'll be on the field with, building chemistry and trust from day one. You simply cannot tell me that these fundamental elements don't matter for a young quarterback's development. This preparation is a game changer, offering a chance for stability he desperately needed but never received. It's becoming increasingly obvious why Cleveland keeps circling back to Shedeur, and it has absolutely nothing to do with superficial hype. This is purely about cold, hard reality and practical options. The draft board's sudden vacuum and the barren free agent market have left the Browns with a stark choice. Invest in a known quantity who is already integrated, or chase fleeting dreams elsewhere. Shedeur represents a low-cost, high-upside gamble already in their building, a pragmatic solution when external avenues have dried up. This isn't sentimentality, it's a cold, calculated, strategic play born of necessity. The most frustrating part of this entire saga is how swiftly and viciously people tried to bury Shedeur before his story even truly began. The so-called haters never bothered to consider the crucial context surrounding his early performances. They conveniently ignored the glaring lack of weak support, the broken and inconsistent reps he received, and the complete absence of genuine preparation time that any young quarterback needs. It was a rush to judgment, devoid of nuance, designed to fit a predetermined negative narrative rather than honestly assess the difficult circumstances he faced on the field. Their critiques were incomplete and unfairly biased. And let's be brutally honest, his struggles weren't just bad luck. Deliberate decisions were made, and opportunities were severely limited. Coach Stefanski and others never fully committed to his development, exhibiting a palpable hesitation. They prioritized protecting their established systems over nurturing a raw young player, a common but destructive error for promising talents. This fundamental lack of trust and investment from the coaching staff invariably cripples young quarterbacks, stunting their growth and eroding their confidence before they even have a chance to prove themselves. The blame extends far beyond the player. Everyone in football understands the critical importance of consistent reps, developing genuine chemistry, a full offseason of preparation, and the unwavering trust from coaches on game day. Yet people feigned shock and surprise when Shedeur didn't look perfect operating within a setup that was fundamentally unstable and never designed for his success. That wasn't insightful analysis. It was an act of sabotage, cunningly disguised as patience or realistic evaluation. The conditions he faced were inherently rigged against him, making any expectation of perfection utterly unrealistic and deeply unfair to his potential. Now the very same critical voices are eerily quiet, or worse, they're attempting to rewrite history, pretending this was the master plan all along. If Shedeur was genuinely so bad and not worth developing, then why are there suddenly no better options on the market? If consistent reps don't truly matter, why does every single great quarterback demand and fight for them? And if Stefanski handled this situation with such expertise, why does it now feel like the team is hitting a complete reset button at the most crucial position? Reality is systematically dismantling their premature judgments. This is where the narrative gets truly interesting. Because once you strip away all the big names, the hefty contracts, and the deafening noise of public opinion, the cold, hard numbers begin to tell a dramatically different and far more compelling story. Before anyone can accurately judge what Shedeur Sanders truly is as a quarterback, you absolutely must first understand the almost impossible conditions he was forced to endure on the field. The statistical truth unveils a level of resilience and potential that was deliberately obscured by the chaotic environment around him, begging for a deeper look. Consider this, Shedeur is a 5th-round pick, still operating on his incredibly team-friendly rookie deal. From a financial standpoint, Cleveland has virtually nothing to lose by giving him a real shot. This advantageous position means the team doesn't have to panic and become big spenders in a weak free agency market, throwing excessive money at aging or unproven talent. His low cost provides immense financial freedom and flexibility, allowing the organization to strategically allocate resources where they truly matter, like rebuilding a crumbling offensive line rather than overpaying for a marginal upgrade at quarterback. Compared to other available options, particularly backup-level quarterbacks like Malik Willis, Shedeur Sanders has already demonstrated significantly more promise and produced more impactful plays. While Willis had limited sample size as a backup this past year, Shedeur logged 7 starts, often showcasing real flashes of brilliance and extending plays. He unequivocally stands as the best quarterback Cleveland has seen on its roster this entire year, injecting a much-needed spark into an otherwise stagnant offense. His on-field performance, despite extreme adversity, has already surpassed immediate competitors within the organization. The quantitative evidence paints a clear picture of his incredible resilience. A critical statistic, the pressure percentage versus pressure to sack ratio, fundamentally alters the entire conversation about his performance. This isn't just subjective observation, it's hard data revealing the immense challenge he faced and his remarkable ability to navigate it. Understanding this specific metric is paramount to truly grasping the unique circumstances that surrounded his limited opportunities on the field, exposing the biased narrative that conveniently ignored these crucial performance indicators. The numbers don't lie. Shedeur was under pressure on over 40% of his snaps, a figure dramatically higher than almost any other quarterback in the entire league. He faced relentless, suffocating heat almost constantly. Yet, despite this unprecedented onslaught, his pressure to sack ratio remained remarkably low, falling into the bottom half of the league. This is not mere luck. It's a profound credit to his innate ability to evade pressure, utilize his legs, and escape the pocket. He demonstrated far more mobility and awareness than critics ever gave him credit for, surviving situations that would have broken lesser quarterbacks. Let's be unequivocally clear, Shedeur Sanders was never truly prepared to be the starter. Coach Kevin Stefanski did not draft him, nor did he ever truly want him. His initial plan, a flawed fantasy, was to roll with Dillon Gabriel as the primary backup after Flacco, seeing him as the team's long-term quarterback solution. That plan was a tenet joke, never destined for success. Consequently, when reality inevitably hit, Shedeur was unceremoniously thrown into the deep end, completely unprepared, with no rhythm, no chemistry, and absolutely no safety net. A catastrophic failure of coaching. This isn't development, it's outright negligence. Shedeur was never treated like a legitimate option. He was systematically denied crucial first-team reps, never groomed for the role, and never truly trusted by the coaching staff. Stefanski locked into his own flawed plan early and refused to adapt. You cannot subject a young quarterback to such a chaotic and unsupportive environment and then have the audacity to judge him for not achieving perfection. That's not coaching, that's actively setting someone up for monumental failure and then callously pointing fingers when they inevitably stumble. And let's finally abandon the pretense that Dillon Gabriel was ever the real answer. That idea never held any weight, not on paper, not on the field, and certainly not in reality. Did anyone genuinely believe that plan would hold up under pressure? If Gabriel was truly the solution, then why did everything completely collapse the very moment reality intervened? Why did the offense look utterly lifeless until Shedeur Sanders stepped in? Why did the pocket suddenly seem to matter when he was under center? And why did plays suddenly extend when he was out there fighting? If Cleveland is genuinely serious about building around Shedeur Sanders, their absolute first priority must be a complete overhaul of the offensive line. This isn't about minor tweaks or temporary patches. It requires a full, aggressive rebuilding effort. The line was objectively terrible, allowing constant missed blocks, late help, and free rushers directly into the backfield. No quarterback, rookie, or veteran can possibly grow or succeed while constantly fighting for his life on nearly every snap. Ownership must draft linemen early and spend aggressively in free agency, prioritizing protection above all else. Next, the coaching must be scrutinized. Stefanski's conservative play calls, tight leash, and general lack of rhythm did Shedeur no favors whatsoever. His system was clearly not designed for a quarterback who thrives on timing, confidence, and dynamic playmaking. Shedeur isn't a checkdown robot. He sees opportunities and takes them. Sometimes they work brilliantly, sometimes they don't, but that is precisely how young quarterbacks learn and develop. Stefanski coached with fear, prioritizing avoiding mistakes over fostering growth, which ultimately stifled Shedeur's natural progression and killed his confidence. And we cannot possibly ignore the glaring issue of inadequate offensive weapons, because that fundamentally matters too. Jerry Jeudy, despite the hopeful rhetoric, did not change a single thing for this offense. He failed to elevate the unit or strike fear into opposing defenses. Calling him a stud is a massive overstatement. Similarly, Cam Robinson provided minimal help. These are the quiet, insidious details that relentlessly sabotage young quarterbacks. People demand better reads, while conveniently ignoring the complete chaos and lack of support surrounding the player. Give Shedeur a truly dominant wide receiver, someone who genuinely commands defensive respect. Provide him with an offensive line that consistently gives him the crucial time he needs to operate. Stop sabotaging his potential with weak support and ill-fitting personnel. Do all of these absolutely fundamental things, and then, and only then, will you earn the right to judge his performance fairly. Until Cleveland addresses these glaring systemic failures, the blame for any struggles unequivocally rests not with Shedeur Sanders, but squarely with the organization and its leadership. So, if this insider revelation truly signals the Browns' commitment, Cleveland might finally be doing right by Shedeur Sanders. Give him the protection, the real weapons, and the appropriate coaching he deserves, and then watch how rapidly this entire story changes. The question remains, will the Browns genuinely build a supportive structure around Shedeur? Or will they once again succumb to the familiar patterns of repeating past mistakes? The answer will define their future, determining whether they finally foster growth or remain trapped in a cycle of underperformance and failed potential.